Willie Nelson is more than willing to admit he hasn't been the perfect husband. The country music legend, who recently celebrated his 89th birthday, has written several books that have given his fans a remarkably forthcoming inside look into his often tumultuous love life. One of the significant admissions he's made is about his struggle to remain faithful to his wives over the years. And as you can probably expect, his wives haven't taken too kindly to his cheating ways. In this video, we'll take a look at some of the most dramatic and almost unbelievable chapters of Willie's turbulent personal life. Willie says he gave his first wife a good reason to wallop him. Songwriting and performing are two of Willie's biggest strengths. Unfortunately, faithfulness is not. After marrying his first young bride, Martha Matthews, in 1952, Nelson quickly discovered cheating wasn't something she'd put up with. He'd met her after being discharged from the Air Force due to some back injuries. She was 16 and he was 19 when they walked down the aisle. The union proved volatile right out of the gate. Nelson pursued his career in music full-time, and this led to Matthews feeling underappreciated and neglected. The couple constantly argued, tussled, and drank heavily. This was a recipe for disaster. One night after Matthews discovered he'd been running around with other women, she tied Nelson up with their kids' jump ropes while he was sleeping and proceeded to beat him with a broomstick. Nelson claims he never laid a hand on her, but that didn't mean she didn't have a reason to wallop him. He freely admits that fidelity was never something that could be considered one of his strong points. Remaining faithful got especially difficult after Willie got a taste of success and fame. Matthews also freely admits that she indeed beat Nelson, though she stated most of their problems stemmed from the fact that neither of them was mature enough to be married, let alone have kids. They had 3 children together, Susie, Lana, and Willie Hugh Jr. Sadly, the latter took his own life Christmas Day, 1991. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Willie claims cheating on his wives didn't mean he didn't love them. A year after divorcing Martha Matthews in 1962, Willie Nelson said "I do" for the second time to a yodeling country singer named Shirley Collie. If his first marriage was a rough one, his second one showed just how bad things could get. Nelson and Collie's relationship came to an abrupt end in 1969 after Shirley discovered Nelson had a daughter with another woman. She found out after finding a medical bill in their home issued by a hospital in Houston. Willie initially tried to pass it off as being his. He lied and claimed he had gone to the hospital for something relatively benign, but Collie wasn't so easily fooled. The bill explicitly stated the charges were for the birth of a baby girl. Shirley demanded to know who Connie Nelson was that was listed on the bill. After he was backed into a corner, Willie was forced to admit Connie Koepke, aka Connie Nelson, was his girlfriend, and the baby in question was their daughter Paula. Needless to say, Nelson and Collie's marriage ended in divorce in 1971. Years later in his memoir, Me and Sister Bobby, Nelson wrote that he hated hurting Collie. He went on to say cheating on her didn't mean he didn't love her. But regardless of what feelings he might have still had for her, after finding out about his unfaithfulness, Nelson claims Collie reacted just about the same way as his first wife did when she caught him cheating. In his book, The Tao of Willie, A Guide to the Happiness in Your Heart, Nelson says that Shirley tied his, quote, drunk ass to the bed frame with a clothesline and woke him up by beating him with a mop handle. Willie ended up marrying Connie Koepke and cheated on her as well. Willie and Connie started seeing each other sometime around 1964, which was only about a year after he married Shirley. After Nelson and Collie's divorce was finalized in 1971, he and Koepke decided to tie the knot. At the time of their marriage, their daughter Paula was about 2. The couple went on to have another daughter, Amy. The Nelson family then moved back to Willie's home state of Texas. Once again, Nelson's eyes began to wander. Pretty soon he met and fell in love with a makeup artist named Annie Marie D'Angelo while on the set of the 1986 film Stagecoach, in which he starred alongside Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, and Johnny Cash. In Me and Sister Bobby, Nelson wrote that he had never met a woman before like D'Angelo. Even so, he expressed some regret for messing up yet another marriage. He went on to say how, in his eyes, there's no such thing as a former wife. His view is that once a wife is in someone's life, she never really leaves. Nelson followed up that sentiment by once again expressing how much regret he felt for hurting Connie, Martha, and Shirley. Even so, the way he talks about things makes it seem like he had no real choice in the matter. almost as if he had no control over his heart and his actions. In 1988, Nelson and Koepke got divorced. A little under 3 years later, in 1991, he and D'Angelo got married. Willie's fourth marriage seems to have stuck. Nelson's love for Annie was, as he once put it, all-consuming, but winning her over wasn't easy. She wanted to make sure his previous marriage was truly over and that he was going to be faithful to her. With a track record like Willie's, you can't blame D'Angelo for being cautious. But there really did seem to be something special about this marriage. Nelson's previous relationships had been full of drama and strife, but he and Annie seemed to get along like two peas in a pod. They connected in all the right ways. For one thing, their politics were aligned, which led to them working together on various activist projects for progressive causes. She also didn't care that Willie was a celebrity. Nelson has also described D'Angelo as being smart as a whip and having the ability to light up a room with her radiating energy. The two have been together for more than 30 years. They've also had 2 children together, Jacob Micah and Lucas. The latter has followed in his father's footsteps by forming a country rock group based out of California called Lucas Nelson and Promise of the Real. Willie and Annie seem to be going strong. For the first time in his life, Nelson has managed to keep a marriage going without complicating things by seeking out the company of other women. Willie says marrying D'Angelo was the smartest thing he's ever done. Even though his 7 children have different mothers, Nelson maintains a close relationship with his family. He told People magazine in 2020 that during the ongoing pandemic, he'd been spending a great deal of quality time with his loved ones at his 700-acre property, Luck Ranch, in Spicewood, Texas. Now it's time to hear from you. Which part of this story was most surprising to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Factsverse as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Factsverse, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from Factsverse or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.